NBA STRAYA, how are you going? How you going? I hope you're right. You should be. Why is that, Jim? Well, it's Wednesday. Hump Day, December 18, all day. And I'll tell you what, if you just haven't put up tools for the entire rest of the year, you're taking the piss at this point. Come on. December 18, you got a week till Christmas. You got to go do some shopping. No one cares at this point. We've all packed it up. That's what we're doing here. Anyway, I'm your host, James Clement. You can see me on the panel, the official NBL Supercoach show, AFL Today show, NFL STRAYA, all the good stuff. I'm here in the fancy studios. Sans, our man, producer Gerald, who's just skived off. As I just said, everyone's just given up, including him. But quick show today. We've got the NBA Cup final to wrap for you. The All-Star format is changing. We've got those nahs and everything I wanted to hit on yesterday. And there's no games tomorrow, so we've got nothing really to preview. So with a huge slate on Friday, however, we'll do a quick show tomorrow to set you up for that. You know what I'm saying? But we will still obviously wrap up today's NBA Cup final, despite it being a bit of a laugher. That's okay. You get that sometimes. We'll do That's Not a Knife, Old Mate, No Mate, Spud of the Night, Better Than Lonzo Ball. We'll do some Giannis, Unpopular Opinion today, and Outback Takehouse, as well as an Andrew Gay's Great Mumber Award for Outstanding Achievement in the field of excellence. Because I'm just out here working hard. That's what we do. It's just an awesome NBA Cup to wrap up and talk out some other fun stuff. Basically, it's a lot of yelling today. Just FYI. All the problems with the NBA, we're going to fix them. I've got one thing that just really sticks in my craw, so stay tuned for that. All right, so without further ado, let's get into it. Episode 1178 of NBA STRAYA. Let's go!
This is Josh Giddey.
G'day, this is Andrew Gay.
This is Jack White.
This is Joe Ingles.
This is Darcy Daniels.
This is Chris Anstey.
This is Matthew Delvedova.
This is Shane Hill.
Hi, this is Ryan Brockhoff.
This is Mitch Creek.
This is Nick Kay.
You're listening to NBA STRAYA.
And you're listening to NBA STRAYA.
And you're listening to NBA STRAYA.
And you're listening to NBA STRAYA.
You're listening to NBA STRAYA.
And you're listening to NBA STRAYA.
You're listening to NBA STRAYA.
And you're listening to NBA STRAYA.
And you're listening to NBA STRAYA.
And you're listening and watching NBA STRAYA.
This is NBA Australia. Let's do it.
Watch out for the shark attack.
Wow, you better, or you at least better watch out for the Kendrick Perkins attack. The Kendrick Perkins, Stephen A. Smith pre-show for the NBA Cup was an absolute fucking train wreck of a horror show. It was so fucking bad. It's like, hey, why are NBA ratings down? And then Kendrick Perkins like, and it's like he was incoherent. It was, and like Stephen A. Smith's yelling at each other, like he and Stephen A. yelling at each other, and you're like, no one's saying words at this point. This is fucked. You're like, geez, I don't know why the NBA ratings are dropping. Maybe because you got a couple of fucking idiots up there saying absolute bullshit to each other that no one's actually acknowledging or actually trying to argue. It was fucked. So, yeah, just saying, maybe we start there. What do you reckon? Anyway, outside of that, let's start the show the way we start every show here at NBA Show with the daily. It's a whip around, is it, Jim? Yes, of course, it's the daily whip around. So before the NBA Cup final, the NBA and their, we're going to say wisdom, announced that they finalized and made it official that they're changing the format of the All-Star game. It's basically like, hey, do you like tournaments? How about a little mini tournament for your bloody All-Star game? You wouldn't talk to the cops now, would you, mate? Like, it's just them losing their minds. You know what's really good? Everybody loves March Madness. Let's make everything a tournament. It's like, yeah, okay. Or how about you just listen to your mate Jim's simple idea of paying the winners of the All-Star game and not the losers. Just make the fucking prize money more and they'll try. It's not rocket surgery. Anyway, but what we have, they've got the new format, right? So we talked this out already. They've got 4 teams in 3 games. So 2 semifinals and a final. 3 of the teams will be selected by, inside the NBA's, Shaq, Kenny, and Chuck. And the other team is the Rising Stars. Now, if you think this is a bad idea, then welcome in. Because if at any point you go, geez, what we should do is have 3 dudes who admittedly don't watch that much NBA select the fucking all-star teams for us. It's like, oh, but it's Kenny and Shaq and Chuck, Jim. It's like, yeah. And Shaq and Chuck spend most of the fucking season shitting on the NBA and the players involved and going, I don't know who that guy is. Why do we think that that's a fucking good idea? This is beyond the absurd. Anyway, I hate this. I appreciate that the NBA tries shit. But this just smacks of fucking desperation and like, we'll try anything once. It's like, okay, but this isn't butt stuff. Like, this is like an actual all-star game. And East versus, even Kevin Durant came out and was like, I hate it. Absolutely hate it. Terrible. We should just go back to East-West. No shit. East-West, make the prize money massive. They'll fucking try. And to be honest, if you really want them to fucking really buckle down, let's go. Winner, East-West, gets home court advantage in the NBA Finals. Fuck it. Like, if you want to complain and bitch and moan, oh, the regular season doesn't mean anything anyway, then let's double down. Like, I don't care if you've won 62 games and the other guy's only won 57. Their fucking conference won the All-Star game. If you want home court advantage in the NBA Finals, then you better fucking hope that your representatives on the All-Star game and on the All-Star teams try fucking hard. Simple as that. Let's go. Anyway, inside the NBA, this has been another one today about how, now that they're choosing the All-Star games, it came up on the on Coward's show that it's like, yeah, it's done more damage than anything else. All right, that's fine, but I'm fascinated by this simple idea of like, inside the NBA, a lot of it is like shitting on current players, styles of play, the teams, who he play for, Shaq and a fool. Everyone's like, Chuck and Shaq, and it's including me. That's great. But at the same time, imagine, if you will, in the 80s and the 90s and the thousands, you had dudes from the 60s and the 70s just non-stop on TV shitting on the product. Do you think David Stern would have let that happen? Do you reckon David Stern would have gone, yeah, Magic and fucking Larry Bird and then Michael Jordan are just being shit on by like Oscar Robertson and John Havlicek and Kareem. And in a lot of times this actually happened. Oscar Robertson and fucking Rick Barry basically got booted from commentary because they were just like fucking grumpy old men. Bill Russell was the same sort of thing, right? Like Oscar Robertson, Kareem, Rick Barry, like if they were just shitting on Magic and Bird or shitting on like Michael Jordan the entire time, do you think that the NBA's popularity would have been as high as it was? Instead of like going, look at Chuck and Shaq, they're just clouded around it, having a bit of a laugh. They are, we get it. But if you've got an official product of the NBA shooting on the NBA non-fucking stop, guess what? Other people are going to go, yeah, they're right. The regular season doesn't matter. Who does he play for? I don't care. It's fucked. Anyway, so they're now in charge of the All-Star game. This is fucked. It's just, there's a world where the NBA keeps trying this sort of stuff and can never figure it out, where the answer is just so fucking obvious that it's just more money, that we're going to get to a point where we're just going to get rid of the All-Star game, right? It was like, no, I'll fucking try it anyway. Then we'll get in like 3-4 years' time, like, bring back the All-Star game. It was so much fun. Look, it can be fun. You just need to make it competitive. We had it happen one year, and then it's like, oh, great. You got the Elam ending, a.k.a. the fucking nerd ending. I don't care about the nerd ending. Whatever. Just make it fun. Put up a shit ton of money. Everybody gets a new fucking car. I don't care. Make it happen. You got more money than God now, the NBA. Just fucking do it. It's very simple. I did like, I think it was Andy H on the one of the socials. He's like, have a 6-team state of origin tournament where 4 teams are made up based on the conference where they were born, plus an international team, plus a rookie team. The conferences play off first, and the team with the highest winning percentage of the two conference playoffs then advances to a game with the winner from the international team versus the rookies. This way, they only play 2 games. The tournament then becomes a sense of pride, region versus region, young versus old, or America versus the world. Somebody get me on the line, Adam Silver, whilst there's still hope. That's very complicated. I don't mind it. To be honest, I think we should just have a fucking world versus USA All-Star game and go from there. That'd fucking fix it as well. You can't tell me that Luka and Jokic will be out, and Giannis will be out there trying to kick the absolute fucking shit out of like LeBron and Steph and everybody. They would love to do that. So just book that in next year because this game this year is going to be a fucking shit show. Anyway, other news. The Nuggets are apparently kicking the tires and trying to go for and like trade for Zach LaVine, Jordan Poole, Jordan Clarkson, DeAndre Hunter, Cam Johnson, Jonas Valanciunas. Apparently LaVine is obviously the big focus. All I want, speaking of All-Star Weekend, is Zach LaVine and Aaron Gordon on the same team. Just imagine those dunk comps in practice. Fuck yes. That'd be great. But anyway, the Nuggets desperately need like an extra scorer. How they're going to make it happen is anybody's guess, but geez, it's going to be a weird situation for that Nuggets team. But at least they're now realizing, oh fuck, we do need to upgrade at some point, and they're actually going to make some moves. Kind of good. Anyway, let's get to the game wrap from the NBA Cup final. Game wrap. We're going to Vegas, baby. Are you ready? Yeah, this game was a bit fucking weird, wasn't it? What a chaotic game. So, really tight all the way through that first half. And it felt mostly like because OKC weren't making their threes. And you got J-Dub getting into the teeth of them pretty easily. And then, early on it was like 16-9. And then it just kind of flipped. And the Bucks went on like an 8-0 tear. And then it was just like almost bucket for bucket for like the rest of the first half. OKC going 1 of 17 from downtown in the first half, though, you're like, oh, that probably doesn't bode well. But it'll turn, and they'll be okay, right? Hashtag spoiler alert, no, it wasn't fine. It was not fine at all. So we get to the half. The Bucks lead by 1, right? And you're like, okay, this is fine. This is all set up very nicely. OKC will hit some more threes, and they'll all be good. And then that just did not happen. They continued to not hit threes. And the biggest problem is they kept turning the ball over. I think they only had 1 turnover in the first half, which obviously helped offset 1 of 17 shooting from downtown. And then in the third quarter, they just kept turning the fucking ball over. And it meant the Bucks just got into a groove, got into a rhythm. Gary Terrence Trent D'Arby Jr. You've got Brook Lopez at the start of the fourth quarter just going absolutely off his head. But as I said, 1 of 17 shooting in the first half for the Thunder. They end up hitting 5 total. That's not good. Just saying. Meanwhile, OKC hit 17 three-pointers, and if you hit more than triple the amount of threes than the opposition, you're probably going to win that game. That's just simple math because you got outscored 51-15 from downtown. Yeah. Also, the Thunder only shot 34%. So, defensively, the Bucks kicked it up a notch. The Thunder kept turning the ball over in the third quarter, and the Bucks used that to rip off like a pretty chaotic 19-5 run. And you turn around, you're like, oh, shit. Is this? Oh, my God, it's going to be a blowout. Then the Thunder sort of pulled it back to within 5, the back end of the third quarter. And then at the start of the fourth, Brook Lopez is splashing threes. Splash Mountain was back and open, which is always fun to see. Gary Trent Jr. is hitting stuff. And pack her up, boys. It was done. It was over in the blink of an eye because OKC couldn't match that shooting. And this is one of those weird blips because this was easily OKC's like lowest scoring game of the season. They hadn't lost by I don't think they'd trailed by more than 14 all year as well. Maybe there was like one game where they'd trailed by 20 against the Warriors or something, I think. But they just get absolutely shit pumped by the Bucks because the Bucks just out-executed. They've got Giannis in the middle cruising and sort of doing whatever he wanted. And the defensive pressure on Dame was almost non-existent. It's like it started off really well, but then as it slowly broke down more and more and more, and the Bucks got out in transition that little bit more, they were able to dictate what they wanted, and Dame is suddenly open and hitting threes again, and that was it. They out-rebounded them 52-43. Despite the Bucks having 19 turnovers, like, it didn't seem to matter because they were hitting all their threes, and OKC just couldn't hit anything at the rim. They shot 34% from the floor. 34% in an NBA Cup final. So a lot of this for me is like, this is a learning situation for the Thunder, isn't it? This is a big spot for a really, really young team. As they pointed out in the broadcast, like, they're one of the youngest teams in the NBA versus one of the oldest. You've got a team that's been to an NBA Finals and won it in the Bucks with at least Giannis. Middleton was out in this game as well with his a non-COVID illness, but the way that they handled them in the second half and the way that Oklahoma City just completely fell apart in the second half, they scored 14 points in the third quarter, and you're like, they'll bounce back. They scored 17 points in the fourth quarter. It was absolutely brutal. Giannis was immense. He had a huge triple-double. 26, 19, and 10. Dame had 23. But it was more like they got, 13 from Brook Lopez, 13 from Gary Trent Jr. They hit all those threes, and it was the biggest difference. Like, we talk about this all the time, the three-point differential just being absolute key to stuff. The Thunder had really, like, they're the best defense in the NBA. And they still held the Bucks to 97 points. The only problem was their offense completely fell off a fucking cliff, which is always going to be one of those weird things for them where you look at them and go, yeah, you've got SGA. Yeah, you've got J-Dub. You don't have Chet, who's your third best player. And then you're relying on a lot of like role players like Isaiah Joe, Dort, Aaron Wiggins. You've got Caruso putting on a Caruso show. And if they're not hitting stuff, Case and Wallace. Like, these are young role players. Like, they're going to have to learn how to do this in these spots. It's a good learning experience, but geez. Like, Caruso is probably the most disappointing for me in this spot. 2 points on 0 of 3 shooting. AJ Mitchell goes 1 of 5. But really, so the big sort of shining light for them was Isaiah Hartenstein was really good. 16 and 12. He shot 6 of 11. J-Dub goes 8 of 20 for his 18 points. 21, 4 and 2 on 24 shots for SGA. This might be the worst game we've seen SGA play as an actual star. And here we are. It just happens sometimes. 5 of 32 from downtown. Brutal. Kenrick Williams stunk. Yeesh. Caruso, bad. Just, yeah. Dort, 1 of 5. Isaiah Joe, 2 of 7. Brutal gear across the board. And as mentioned for the Bucks, the triple-double for Giannis. He shot 10 of 19. Oh, yes. Dame goes 5 of 10 from 3. That makes... When you've got Dame hitting as many threes as the entire opposition, yep, that'll do, pig. That'll do. Gary Trent Jr. hits 3. AJ Green hit 3 threes as well. And Brook Lopez hit 3. So cruising along, touring the Red Bull Prince hit a couple too. The 13 and 9 for Brook Lopez. Andre Jackson had a very, very randomly impactful 2-point game. He was really good, despite 1 of 6 shooting. And also... the AJ Green, Andre Jackson sort of combo has been pretty bloody handy. The Bucks are good. Just saying. And there you go. Your NBA Cup champions, the Milwaukee Bucks, 97, Oklahoma City Thunder. An absolute disappointing 81. They should have smashed him, couldn't hit a shot, and fell apart. It's a young team in a big spot. Just saying. All right, what about an NBA Australia approved performance of the night?
That's not a knife. That's a knife.
So, how about Giannis? That's pretty bloody good. 26, 19, and 10. You're taking the piss. 10 and 19 shooting from the floor. 3 blocks and 2 steals as well. He had an immense block late that was just awesome. But dominated and dictated this game in the way that he can sometimes. And like to only have 26 points, he was everywhere. He was the straw that stirred the Bucks drink. I think it is Algonquin for the good land today because Milwaukee won it. But yeah, Giannis is easily the NBA Australia approved performer of the night and NBA Cup MVP. Legendary gear. Way to go, Giannis. Just another, like, I've been banging on about this the last couple of weeks, right? Jokic versus Giannis for MVP. People are like, what about Luka? What about SGA? It's a game like this where you're like, see, fucking told you so. Just saying. What about Spud of the night, though, Jim?
Spud, 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 it is Spud of the night.
Spud of the night. Everyone on OKC from downtown. 5 of 32. 5 of 32. What are you doing? That was absolutely atrocious gear. Dort goes 0 of 4. 1 of 5 overall. Isaiah Joe goes 2 of 7, 1 of 6 from 3. Kendrick Williams, 1 of 6, including 1 of 4 from downtown. J-Dub, 8 of 20. SGA, 8 of 24. When SGA's out there being the only dude on your entire team hitting multiple threes, you're done fucked up. Like, it's crazy. He's not the big three-point shooter. He took 9. That's how desperate they got. He's like, shit, I got to shoot heaps of threes. That's not my game. Turns out that's what the Bucks forced him to do. It was a very, very smart game plan from the Bucks, I thought. They sort of just got them into positions they didn't want to be. They didn't let OKC dictate the shit. The Bucks did. That's a veteran team right there. Yeah, so a bit of a rough one for everybody. As I mentioned, though, like that Caruso game. So he ends up with 3 steals. But Caruso, the 0 of 3 and 0 of 2 from downtown, it's just like he hits one of those threes. They sort of get going. The same goes for like Isaiah Joe, the 1 of 6. Like even the Kendrick Williams one, the one that he hit was at the very end of the fucking game that was completely pointless. They got them over like the lowest scoring game of the season. But yeesh, everybody on OKC, you win Spot of the night. Who was old mate no mates though?
Old mate, no mates. Old mate, no mates.
Old mate, no
Old mate, no
mates.
mates.
Old mate, no mates.
Old mate, no mates.
Who's got no mates today? The most overrated coach in the NBA, Doc Rivers. Now the first coach to win an NBA title and an NBA Cup. But Jim, how does that make him old mate no mates? Well, it is pretty funny because all the Doc Rivers slander is coming out to the fore. It's like, yep, he won an NBA title in 2008. And you're like, oh, God, that is a really long time ago now. Jesus. But old mate no mates, to extend where we are with this, Darvin Ham is now just like the world's best NBA Cup coach. He wins it last year with the Lakers, wins it this year on the Bucks. Boom. He and Torian the Red Bull Prince, back-to-back NBA Cup champions. That's unreal. But Doc Rivers is like, see, I fucking told you guys. He's taking a little bit of a victory lap. Love that for him. But, yeah, it's definitely like everyone dumping on him and be like, yeah, you won an NBA Cup. Doc is copping it, but he's also now won an NBA Cup. So good on him, I guess. It's pretty good. What about pantsing of the night? I mean, Caruso getting it blocked off his head off his bold Elmer Fudd looking bonce. That's a pantsing. That's an absolute, like, Giannis, the game is in hand. You didn't have to do him like that. And Giannis is like, yes, I did. I did it. But really, this was just a big boy moment for OKC, right? They got big boyed. OKC are like, we're a contender too. And Milwaukee are like, come back to us when you played a game that matters, mate. And they got pantsed. Mark Daigneault, OKC, all of those OKC role players. Like, this is the sort of game that OKC are like, we don't panic. We are fine. And in the back of your mind, you're kind of like, fuck, they probably could use like one more veteran, couldn't they? Just a break glass in case of emergency kind of dude where you're like, yeah, maybe having Dennis Schroeder on the bench or something would have actually helped us. And Sam Presti's like, no, I must hoard all of my first-round picks. They're mine. They're my precious. It's like, okay, Sam Presti, just fucking settle down, mate. Just saying, you got more picks than God. You might be able to upgrade this team just a little bit. Now, in the back of my brain, I'm like, I think they might need to. You better believe that's a pantsing. And finally, how about better than Lonzo Ball or Bronny James?
Lonzo was the best player in high school. He was the best player in college. You think he'll get to the pros and be like, I made it to the pros, now I can be average. We're coming for everybody.
Better than everybody. How about AJ Green and Andre Jackson? I mentioned them both already, but AJ Green at least hit 3 threes. 3 of 5, all of which from downtown. Good on him. 2 assists and a steal. He was a plus 10. Very nice. Did better than Lonzo Ball's ever done in an NBA Cup final. And Bronny James, for that matter. But the 9 points in 26 minutes, he and Andre Jackson, so Andre Jackson also played 26, 1 of 6 shooting for him, but a very impactful 2 points, 1 assist, 3 rebounds. His hustle, his work, his effort on the defensive end was really, really impressive. Doesn't have the counting stats, but at the same time, Lonzo's never made an NBA Cup final. And randomly, remember, these stats don't count. So here we are. It's a bit weird. All right. Also, before we get to Dickhead of the Week on Friday, I wanted to just hashtag spoiler alert, Dickhead of the Week, the Hornets. I don't know if you saw this story, but they brought a kid out for Christmas and he'd written a letter to Santa and was asking for a PS5. And they gave him one and then took it away and gave him a signed jersey instead. So it was brought on with a mascot dressed as Santa Claus. And the cheerleader came out with the bag. It had the PS5 in there. The kid's like loving it. This is great. And then after it comes off the court, the Hornets staffer took it away and gave him a jersey instead. Luckily, somebody filmed this and went, what the fuck? And Charlotte are like, oh, yeah, we fucked this. The Charlotte Hornets, you are the dickheads of the week. It's Christmas. How do you give a kid a PS5 and go, oh, no, we're just joking. Here's a jersey. The kid's completely fucking destroyed. You massive assholes. What the fuck? It's like, oh, no, we fixed it. It's like, yeah, you're still pricks though. Just saying. All right, let's come back with some awesome yenas right after, let's say, this.
This is Cam Glidden.
This is Anthony Drimmick.
This is Mitch McCarron.
This is Jason Kadee.
This is Daryl McDonald.
Hey guys, this is Hugh Greenwood.
Yo, what's going on? This is Illy.
This is Mark Worthington, or commonly known as Wortho, and you're listening to NBA Australia.
You're listening to NBA Australia.
And you're listening to NBA Australia.
And you're listening to NBA
And you're
Australia.
listening to NBA Australia.
You're listening to NBA Australia.
And you're listening to NBA Australia.
You're listening to NBA Australia.
All right, let's do it. Let's do some yenas. So Zachy B sent in a good one. Yeah, nah. Will the Nets break Detroit's 28 consecutive losses from last year? Yeah, nah. Probably not. I'm going to say nah, because the Nets are going to be horrible. And I love that because your mate Jim is all in on the Nets under for the season total of 19 and a half. But their problem is going to be, last year at least we had a couple of, the tanking teams weren't so egregious until a little bit later in the season. Already we've got the Nets will still fancy their chances against Washington. They'll still fancy their chances against the Jazz, the Pels, even the Blazers, right? Who have put the Q in the rack. But Brooklyn have got 10 wins already. The thing is, how many more do you think they get for the rest of the season? It is a little bit squirrely. So they've got this little run that they've got now. We're going to learn a lot about how bad Brooklyn are in the next 2 games because they play in Toronto and then Utah. If they lose both of those, Ben Simmons is helming the thing. You've got Cam Johnson, Nick Claxton. They might not put Cam Johnson back on the plane in Toronto. He might be too good. They're like, oh, hey, Toronto, do you just want to keep this guy? Can we have a pick? Right? They play Utah at home. They should win that. Outside of that, they've got Miami, Milwaukee, San Antonio, Orlando, Toronto again, Milwaukee, Philly, Indy, Detroit, Denver, another Utah game. And so, that's the problem. They've got a couple of these Utah games scattered in there. They've got another Charlotte game at the end of January, and then they've got the Washington run at the start and end of February, and they should probably still win one of those. So they're probably not going to get to the record, but yeah, they're pretty bloody brutal. I think the question now becomes, will you watch any more full Brooklyn Nets games? And the answer is probably no. I'll be swinging in and out, checking out on Box Hill Benny, but yeesh, that game is going to be, that team is going to be horrible. And Zach B also had, Jimmy Butler trying to get himself paid with that game against Detroit. Yes, Jimmy Butler's always trying to get himself paid. Remember his fucking big head coffee? Where he's like, I'm going to charge you $100 for a cup of coffee. And you're like, this guy's an asshole. It was $20 a cup or whatever it was in the bubble because he didn't want to do change, which is, to be honest, fair. But, yeah. anyone who pays Jimmy Butler from here on, I feel like is going to be regretting it pretty quickly. That dude is sneaky old, and I don't know if he puts you over the top. Scotty B had a good one. G'day, Jimmy. Sorry being quiet, but been listening. Love the new format, smashing through the games. Was going to chip in what was wrong with the NBA, but you nailed it with the marketing. So much potential for awesome storylines, WWE style, based on on-court rivalries, but agree, the marketing is just flat. Get some 2K storylines going, but the basketball is pretty awesome. Yes, and this is probably what frustrates me about this entire, the NBA's fucked, ratings are down. It's like, the basketball is really, really, really good night on night on night on night. And if you're not fucking in the muck like me and watching as many games as humanly fucking possible, I don't think the NBA does a very fucking good job of bashing you over the head with how good it is. Like, there is so much talent in the NBA right now compared to like the 90s. Like, oh, geez, remember the halcyon days? It's like, do you remember the thousands? The vast majority of that decade was shithouse. I'm just saying. Like, there's this huge dip in talent. And it was like, you had the Suns, you had some pretty fun Dallas teams, you had the Spurs always being good. The Lakers were good, then shit. Kobe is just going fucking ham. Then they get good again towards the end of the decade. Boston, good shit, good again at the end of the decade. The Knicks, absolute train wreck the entire time. Like, it was weird. But you know what? Yeah, they even had the Malice in the Palace, and that was a bit of a key part for this. Because people were still engaged with it because they were being shown how good it was. It's like, look at Steve Nash do cool shit. There's 7 seconds or less Suns. That was the precursor to the Warriors, and the NBA still hasn't quite figured out how to then market a team like today's Rockets or today's OKC. Even the Bucks is like, oh, this is never going to work. Meanwhile, they're crushing it. They've won the NBA Cup. Giannis is awesome. Dame is fun. What are they doing? And so Scotty B, it's like, yeah, the marketing is fucky. Brett P, he has another point here. Yeah, the refs need to get a grip. We talked about this one yesterday. They rendered the second half of that Grizz-Lakers game unwatchable, calling literally everything. That was over 60 fouls called in that game. People are watching the players compete, not 3 people see how many times they can blow a whistle. Yes. And that leads very nicely into Jez Oz's one. Hey, buddy, here's my take on the ratings on the NBA. The challenges and reviews of seemingly every fucking call is slowing down the game. When I can go out for lunch with 4:40 to go in the third and come home 2 hours later and the fourth has just started, maybe there's an issue. Also, the overcoverage of LeBron and the Lakers makes it hard for a casual fan to be any more than just that. I like this one. I mean, when Austin Reeves and D'Lo are getting more coverage than just about anyone on the Thunder, things are out of whack. Alex Caruso is a fine example of just that. When he was on the Lakers, you'd be mistaken for thinking he was a generational talent. Now he's been on the Bulls and Thunder, he's barely talked about as anything more than a handy role player. Anyway, just my 2 cents. Cheers, Jez out. Yes, from your mouth to God's ears, Jez. That is bang on. So the over-reliance on someone like LeBron and something like the Lakers, to the point where the Celtics win the title last year and almost feel like a fucking afterthought this year because there's no drama to drive the storyline should be, they're fucking awesome. Look at Jason Tatum. I get that he's got no aura, but you know he's got a bit of aura and a bit of fuck you-ness? The Zinger, Jrue Holiday, Jaylen Brown, Derek White, Joey Muzz. Like, it's wild that they're not leaning more into this sort of shit. Instead, we've got Kendrick Perkins yelling bullshit into the fucking ether and Stephen A seemingly arguing with himself non-fucking stop. And this is where I'm all going. This is a combined Unpopular Opinion of the Day and Outback Takehouse. That's right. It's Wednesday at Outback and we're just going fucking full-blown flames. The NBA doesn't listen. As I said yesterday, every time we have a FIBA tournament, Olympics, whatever, everybody is like, this is fucking great. The flow is better. The refs let the players play. They don't insert themselves in it. There's not as many timeouts. The games flow the way basketball fucking ought to. The key takeaway here is, you know what people want? Entertainment. You don't need every tiny little fucking out of bounds or foul call challenged, reviewed to the fucking nth point. Like, just let the game fucking flow. And a part of that is let the players play. Let the players compete. There it is, isn't it? We love competition. We love competitiveness. And if you have refs stepping in the way anytime a fucking dude looks at another dude vaguely sideways, you know what that fucking nips in the bud? Competitiveness. Let them compete. Because what should the NBA be known for, right? It should be known for being the most fun and most competitive league in the world. Instead, what it seems to be pushing is like, we want to be known as like a place where trades happen. We're a place where LeBron's famous. It's like, that's got fucking nothing to do with the core idea of why we love basketball, why we love sport. This is why the NFL, and I don't know if I've heard enough people say this, like, this is why the NFL is king in America. It's fucking crazy competitive. All the players play super fucking hard all the time. And you know what? The refs let them. It's a fucking massive contact sport. It's simply the competitive nature of the human spirit. And the NBA, for some fucking completely unknown reason, is throwing their bodies in front. They go, no, you can't look at him. Don't push him at all. Don't get angry at one another. It's like, no, sport is emotional. Let the players be themselves. Let them be emotional. Let them fucking compete. Because you know what happens when we see people competing? We are entertained. We want to be entertained. We love competition. And we love competitiveness. For some reason, the NBA doesn't want that. And there's your fucking problem right there. All right. We'll be back with an Andrew Gaze Grey Mumber Award right after, let's say, I don't know if we've got another drop. Oh, God. This one.
This is Matthew Delvedova, and you're listening to NBA STRAYA.
Andrew Gaze Grey Mumba.
All right. Andrew Gaze Grey Mumber Award for Outstanding Achievement in the Field of Excellence after all that, because we've got no Australian player watch today because there were no Aussies in the NBA Cup final, which sort of sucks. But you do get that on the big jobs, don't you? Because obviously on the Bucks we have no Aussies, and on OKC we have Alex Dukas, and he didn't dress. He's dealing with a back injury, so he's on the injury list. But for the Andrew Gaze Grey Mumber Award for Outstanding Achievement in the Field of Excellence, Russell Westbrook. So I had a really good game the other day. I'm like, because we do the Tight Ass Tuesday really quick show, didn't bang on about how good he was in that Kings game. He had 18 points, 9 rebounds, and 10 assists. But because he had the 9 rebounds, Rusty Westbrook now has the most rebounds in NBA history from a point guard, which is pretty cool. So he goes past Jason Kidd, who had 8,402. Up goes Rusty, number 1 all time. That's really cool. Bit of a flip side of that. So Jason Kidd having a tough year. So he loses the second spot in the all-time assists lead to CP3 the other day, and now rebounds for a point guard as well. So a bit of a tough one for Jason Kidd. I'll tell you what, tough scenes for J Kidd. He'll probably be fine. Probably, maybe. Righto. Paddy Mills Game Day Buller Game Day Twitter check-in. Let's do it. What do we got? Is there anything there for our man, Paddy? I'm going to say no. That's a shame. There is a nice... Oh, Jock Landale, though. New story. Let's do it. What's he got? Oh, just him going to work in practice. That's a good defensive crouch. Also looking at cold process botanical soaps handmade in France using the finest oils, butters, and botanicals. Sure. And then him hanging out with Coach Bright, hanging out. And there's the Arte Christmas delivery cutoffs. Do you ever... I feel like that might be his missus' brand. Because there's nothing quite like a bespoke artisanal brand for the NBA partner. All right, so we missed out on the pick today. That sucks. We are still cruising along basically at 60% for the season. Remember, if you want to follow along with my picks, click on the link in this show description or click on the link on the social descriptions, the social media stuff as well. Because if you just follow me on Dabble, I don't think that's enough. You need to click on the link that's in the show description here or when I put it up in the Facey and Instagram stories or on Twitter. So go check those out. Click through if you're into that and you want to check out my picks day to day. That's where they're all going to be. You can follow them. You can copy them, all that sort of gear. So jump on that. Now, there's no games tomorrow. So what we'll do on tomorrow's show is break down all those games and come up with any other sort of yeah-nahs and everything that we want to do. So it'll be another quick one tomorrow. I'll be in Larry Armour's studios tomorrow. I won't be in the office. So, but let's have a quick look at the slate because Friday's slate is absolutely psychotic. Like there are so many games, it's a little bit ridiculous. So at the moment, we've got Utah at Detroit. Detroit are 4.5-point favorites. I'd probably go Detroit there because Utah should not be anywhere near Detroit. OKC go to Orlando after a day off. OKC should probably still win that, but maybe a bit of a Vegas hangover. So maybe Orlando with the plus 5.5. Washington, Charlotte. Oh, God. Charlotte should beat them with all their dudes back, so that should be good. Chicago, Boston. Now, does anybody remember the Ben Gordon series? If you're of my vintage, that was one of the great random playoff series of all time. Chicago, Boston in I think that was 08 or 09. Ben Gordon just goes off. This is absolutely insane, awesome Chicago era. Has a great, just turned into basically Ray Allen, ironically. But the Celtics pull it out. Brooklyn, so Boston will kill Chicago. Brooklyn, especially Josh Giddey, we don't have an update on his ankle injury yet. At least I never got the alert, so let's have a look. But Chicago without Giddey, I do not like that, considering he's the only one with a bloody plus minus box, plus minus whatever, ever. So, Boston will kill them, especially with a little bit of a break. Brooklyn, Toronto. Toronto should beat them as well without anybody sort of out there doing much. For Brooklyn, you reckon? Still no Josh Giddey ups. That's annoying. Anyway, Toronto will kill them. New Orleans, Houston. Houston at home should delete that Pelicans team. Golden State, Memphis. That is very, very tasty with Dennis Schroeder. I am German Rondo. Now on Golden State, and who also started a fight with Memphis the other day. So, I don't know if Golden State can get out of their own way. I'm going to go Memphis. Yeah, that's not bad. Atlanta, San Antonio. That's a bit of the old DeJounte Murray trade. San Antonio going, we've got all your picks sucked in. Atlanta, probably a little bit too good. Clippers, Dallas. Ooh, that's a bit tasty. Dallas should probably win that one. Phoenix, Indy. Ooh. Indy on the road. No good. Phoenix, as long as KD's playing, they're unstoppable. New York, Minnesota. The Julius Randle Cat Revenge. How good is that game? Denver, Portland. That's a bit of the old Nurkic revenge game as well, but Nurkic hasn't been on Portland for ages, so Denver should kill them. Portland are horrible. Denver, only 8.5-point favorites at the moment. I'll be all over that. And then Lakers, Sacramento. 2002 Western Conference Finals. Anybody? Just saying. But either way, I reckon that'll do us for today. That was a wicked NBA Cup. And I think so much of my point has been made about the NBA Cup. It's good to have a thing before December that we all get hyped for. But by the same token, we're going to get through this entire January, February period, get to this fucking horrible setup for All-Star, go, this is shit. What is this shit show? And then go, just imagine if we still have the NBA Cup running through to the second week of March. Just to keep us all entertained. Why go to all this fucking time and effort and half-ass at NBA? I'm just asking. Anyway, that'll do us. We'll be back on deck tomorrow. As I said, we'll just do a quick preview show for all those games for Friday and then fuck off again. So in the meantime, make sure you're following NBA Straya on Twitter, Facey, IG, TikTok, and of course YouTube. We just did a bunch of shorts as well, so there's plenty of stuff in the works coming out over the next couple of days and into Christmas. I think we're ranking the Christmas Day games, all that sort of shit. NFL Australia as well with myself and Gaz. Good one this week. Very fun. So get around that if you like your NFL. Get around the Cricket Today podcasts. The third test just finished. Bit of a draw, but the boys are all over that. What else? AFLW, AFL Today shows, Football Today show if you like your soccer, and of course, Holdable tickets if you like your GGs. Get around all of those on your Apple Podcast, Spotify, YouTube Music, whatever app you're using on your Android phone. Rate, review, star, subscribe all your mates. It is the giving season. It's a Festivus for the rest of us, so help a brother out. And, leave a rating, leave a review. Make sure you've done that. I'd really, really appreciate it, your old mate Jim Wood. Big thanks always go to From Oslo for the intro and outro song. They rule, so do House Hats, Joshua Delamrantis, Fascinator, Gold Mines, Ramshackle Army, Iowa, Sex Jedi, Green, and Dozers. They're behind all the tunes you hear throughout the show. Smash them all on Apple Music, Spotify. Listen to your bands. Support Australian bands. That's it. I'm going to get out of your hair. I'm going to make sure this actually gets up. I'm doing this without producer Gerald. It's a bit weird. Hopefully she was all kosher. Hopefully you enjoyed NBA Cup, and hopefully you enjoyed the rant in the middle about this and how we're going to fix the NBA. Let them fucking compete. Simple as that. Also, tomorrow we'll talk about expansion. I was saving that for tomorrow as well. Vegas, Seattle, it's going to happen seemingly, so let's bloody well do it. Either way, we will catch you tomorrow, you dickheads. This is NBA Australia saying, look after yourselves, would ya? And go Bucks! NBA Cup champions! Doc Rivers, oh, you did it! Later, Hosen.